The stars looked different here. Captain Jin Kyung stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the alien fleet through the main screen. 20 massive ships surrounded his single vessel like wolves around a deer. Their hulls gleamed with strange metals that seemed to drink in the light from nearby stars. Jin kept his face calm, but his heart was beating fast. This was it. Humanity's first meeting with an alien empire. Everything his people had dreamed about and feared was happening right now. "Captain," said Lieutenant Yun-ha from her position at the weapons console. "They're powering up their main guns." "I see them," Jin replied. He studied the enemy formation. The aliens had arranged their ships in a perfect circle around the Indomitable. It was a textbook attack pattern, designed to prevent any escape. These beings knew how to fight. The largest alien ship sat directly ahead. It was 3 times bigger than the Indomitable and covered in weapon ports. Jin could see smaller ships moving between the giants like fish around sharks. The alien fleet probably had more firepower than Earth's entire navy. "Incoming transmission," announced Han Gil from communications. "They're using our own radio signals to talk to us. Smart. Put them through." The main screen flickered and showed a creature that made Jin's skin crawl. It looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed red in the darkness. When it spoke, its voice came through the translator as cold and mechanical. "Unknown vessel. I am Admiral Thexvar of the Vorthan Imperial Fleet. You have entered restricted space. Surrender your ship and crew for processing or be destroyed." Jin took a deep breath. He had practiced this moment 1,000 times, but nothing could prepare him for the real thing. "Admiral Thexvar, I am Captain Jin Kyung of the Earth vessel Indomitable. We are explorers from the planet Earth. We mean no harm to your people." The alien's mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. "Earth? Never heard of it. Surrender now or face the consequences." "We cannot surrender," Jin said simply. "We are not your enemies, but we are not your slaves either." Admiral Thexvar's red eyes flashed with anger. "You dare refuse the Vorthan Empire? We have conquered 800 worlds. Your little ship means nothing to us." Jin looked around his bridge. His crew sat at their stations, calm and ready. These men and women had trained for years for this moment. Each one was the best humanity had to offer. Eun-ha had her fingers dancing over the weapons controls. Min-woo was watching the engine readings like a hawk. Bora was already calculating escape routes that probably wouldn't work. "Admiral," Jin said, "we have no wish to fight you, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." The alien admiral made a sound that the translator couldn't handle properly. It came through as static mixed with what might have been cursing. "Defend yourselves? With 1 ship against 20? You must be insane." "Perhaps," Jin admitted, "but humans have fought against worse odds before." That seemed to confuse the alien. Thexvar leaned forward in what Jin assumed was his command chair. "What kind of species sends a single ship into unknown space? Are you criminals, exiles?" "We are explorers," Jin repeated. "We came here to learn about the universe. We hope to find friends among the stars." "Friends?" Thexvar's voice carried a tone Jin didn't like. "The strong do not need friends. They take what they want from the weak." Jin felt something cold settle in his stomach. This was what humanity had feared. An empire built on conquest and cruelty. But they had prepared for this too. "Admiral Thexvar," Jin said carefully, "I notice your ships are very impressive. Your weapons are powerful. Your formation is perfect, but you made one mistake." "What mistake?" The alien snapped. "You assumed we came alone." For a moment there was silence on the alien bridge. Jin could see Thexvar looking at his officers, probably asking for sensor readings. The human captain waited patiently. "Our scanners show no other ships," Thexvar said finally. "You are lying. Your scanners are very good," Jin agreed. "But they're looking for ships like yours. Ships that want to be seen." Yun-ha touched her console and Jin nodded. "Time for the demonstration. Admiral, please observe your patrol ship designated Talon 7. On the screen, Jin could see Thexvar turning to look at something off-camera. Then the alien's eyes went wide with shock. One of the smaller Vorthon ships had simply stopped moving. It hung in space like a dead thing, its lights flickering on and off. "What did you do?" Thexvar demanded. "Nothing permanent," Jin assured him. "Your crew is safe. Their ship will work normally in about 10 minutes. We just wanted to show you something." "Show me what?" Jin smiled, though he knew the alien couldn't see his face clearly. "That your technology is impressive, Admiral. But it has weaknesses. And humans are very good at finding weaknesses. Yuna looked up from her science station and gave Jin a small nod. The demonstration had worked perfectly. The alien ships were powerful, but they used a centralized computer system that could be hacked if you knew the right tricks. And humans knew a lot of tricks. You will pay for this insult, Thexvar snarled. I will destroy your ship and send your remains back to your pathetic planet as a warning. Admiral, Jin said quietly, I suggest you scan for gravitational anomalies in your local area. There was another pause. Jin watched as the alien's confidence slowly cracked. Thexvar was seeing something on his sensors that he didn't understand. Impossible, the alien whispered. What's impossible, Admiral? The readings. They suggest multiple large objects in our vicinity, but we see nothing, Jin nodded. That's because you're looking with eyes that see only what they expect to see. Humans learned long ago that the most dangerous enemies are the ones you never see coming. The truth was simple and terrifying. While the Vorthon Empire had spent centuries conquering visible enemies, humanity had learned to fight in shadows. Every human ship was designed to hide, to strike unseen, to turn the enemy's strength against them. What do you want? Thexvar asked. His voice had lost its arrogant tone. I told you, Admiral. We came here to explore, to learn, to make friends if possible. Jin paused. But we also came prepared to defend ourselves. The alien admiral stared at him through the screen. Jin could almost see the calculations happening behind those red eyes. Attack and face an unknown number of hidden enemies. Retreat and look weak before his own fleet, or try something neither side had expected. Perhaps, Thexvar said slowly, we should talk. 3 hours had passed since the first contact. More Vorthon ships kept arriving, turning the space around the Indomitable into a deadly maze of alien warships. Captain Jin Kyung watched the tactical display as the enemy fleet grew from 20 ships to 40. Then 60. They're calling in reinforcements from 3 different sectors, reported Bo Ra from her navigation station. Long-range sensors show at least 30 more ships on their way. Jin nodded calmly. Let them come. Yunha, how are our systems? Lieutenant Yunha looked up from her weapons console with a small smile. All green, Captain. The Vorthons still haven't figured out how we disabled their patrol ship. Their computer experts are probably going crazy trying to understand what happened. Good. Min Wu engineering status? Chief Engineer Min Wu didn't look up from his control panel. Power levels are steady. Shields at maximum. And Captain, I've been listening to their radio chatter. They're scared. Scared? Jin raised an eyebrow. Of one ship? Of what they can't see, Min Wu explained. Their sensors keep picking up strange readings. Gravity waves that shouldn't exist. Energy signatures that appear and disappear. They know something is out there, but they can't find it. Jin smiled. The human fleet was still hidden in the shadow of a nearby moon, using gravitational fields and advanced stealth technology to stay invisible. Every few minutes, one of the ships would briefly activate its engines or weapons, just enough to create a sensor ghost, then disappear again. To the Vorthons, it must seem like they were surrounded by phantoms. Captain, Hangil called from communications. Admiral Thexvar is requesting another meeting. Put him through. The alien admiral appeared on the main screen again. This time, Jin noticed Thexvar looked tired. His red eyes were dimmer and his mandibles clicked nervously. Captain Jin, Thexvar began, my superiors are curious about your capabilities. They want to know how many ships you have hidden. That's an interesting question, Admiral. How many ships do you think we have? Thexvar's forearms gestured at something off-screen. Our best estimates range from 50 to 200 vessels, but our sensors cannot get accurate readings. Jin kept his expression neutral. The real number was 127 ships, but he wasn't going to tell the alien that. Admiral, may I ask you a question? What question? In all your conquests, how many species have you encountered that could hide an entire fleet from your sensors? The alien was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer. None. In 800 conquests, we have never seen technology like this. Then perhaps, Jin suggested, this would be a good time to try something different than conquest. Different? What do you mean? Jin stood up from his captain's chair and walked closer to the main screen. Admiral, your empire has grown powerful by taking what you want from weaker species. But what happens when you meet a species that isn't weaker? Before Thexvar could answer, Yuna spoke up from her science station. Captain, I'm detecting movement in the Vorthon fleet. 3 ships are moving to attack positions. Jin sighed. Admiral, I hope your ships aren't planning to do something foolish. They have their orders, Thexvar said stiffly. If you will not surrender, they will test your defenses. I see. Jin turned to Yunha. Lieutenant, please demonstrate our point defense system. Yunha's fingers moved across her console like a pianist playing a complex piece. On the tactical display, Jin watched as targeting systems throughout the human ship came alive. In less than 3 seconds, every weapon on the Indomitable had locked onto critical systems across the entire Vorthon fleet. Admiral, Jin said calmly, you now have weapons trained on your bridge. Your engines, your weapon arrays, and your life support systems. This is happening simultaneously across all 68 ships in your fleet. Thexvar's red eyes went wide. Impossible. No single ship has that much computing power. You're right, Jin agreed. No single ship does. But humans learned long ago that working together makes us stronger than working alone. The truth was that every human ship in the hidden fleet was connected through quantum communication links. When one ship targeted an enemy, all ships shared that information instantly. The Indomitable wasn't fighting alone. It was the visible tip of a sword that extended across light years. So me, Jin called to a young woman sitting at a station near the back of the bridge. Would you please show Admiral Thexvar what you've been working on? So me grinned and activated her console. Across the Vorthon fleet, dozens of ships suddenly found their weapon systems cycling offline and back online again. Not broken, just temporarily unavailable. A few seconds later, their shields flickered like candles in the wind. What are you doing to us? Thexvar demanded. Learning, Jin replied. Every minute you've been talking to us, we've been studying your technology. Your computer systems are impressive, but they're all built the same way. Once we understood the pattern, it became much easier to work with them. So me looked up from her station. Captain, I've mapped their entire network. I can shut down any system on any ship in their fleet. Weapons, engines, life support, whatever you want. That won't be necessary, Jin said quickly. We're not here to hurt anyone. Admiral Thexvar stared at them through the screen. You could destroy my entire fleet. Yes, Jin admitted. But why would we want to? Admiral, humanity spent thousands of years learning to fight against each other. We became very good at finding ways to win wars without destroying everything. Sometimes the best victory is the one where nobody dies. But you're only one species, Thexvar protested. We are an empire spanning 200 star systems. And that empire is very impressive, Jin said honestly. But size isn't everything. A single virus can kill a giant if it knows where to attack. Yuna cleared her throat politely. Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the fleet. Put it through on a private channel. Jin touched his earpiece and listened to a brief report from Admiral Dayun, commander of the hidden human fleet. The news was both good and bad. Good because more human ships were arriving every hour. Bad because long-range sensors had detected something else moving in deep space. Something that wasn't human or Vorthon. Admiral Thexvar, Jin said, I think it's time we had a more serious conversation. Not just about our two species, but about what else might be out there in the galaxy. What do you mean? My people have been watching your empire for some time. We've seen how you expand, how you conquer, but we've also detected signals from beyond your borders. Signals that suggest we're not the only ones watching. The alien admiral's forearms moved restlessly. You speak in riddles. Then let me be clear. The galaxy is bigger than either of us imagined, and there are things moving in the darkness between stars that make both our fleets look like toys. Jin paused. The question is, do we want to face those things as enemies or as allies? For the first time since they'd started talking, Admiral Thexvar looked truly worried. Admiral Thexvar cut the communication link and turned to his officers on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Dominion's Edge. For 2,000 years, the Vorthon Empire had followed the same pattern with every new species they encountered. First contact, show of force, demand for surrender, then either submission or destruction. It had never failed. Until now. Analysis. Thexvar ordered his tactical officer. What are we really facing? Commander Vextai, a veteran of dozens of conquests, looked uncomfortable. Admiral, the readings don't make sense. Our computers estimate the humans have between 50 and 200 ships in the system, but we can't get accurate counts. Their stealth technology is unlike anything in our databases. And their cyber warfare capabilities? Unprecedented, replied Science Officer Nexivore. They penetrated our networks within minutes of first contact. Not to cause damage, but to learn. They've been studying us like we're specimens in a laboratory. Thexvar's mandibles clicked with frustration. Surely one ship cannot pose a real threat to the entire fleet. Sir, Vextai said quietly, I recommend we withdraw and report to High Command. This situation is beyond our standard protocols. Withdraw? Thexvar's red eyes flashed. The Vorthan Empire does not withdraw from primitive species. With respect, Admiral, these humans don't seem primitive. Before Thexvar could respond, every system on the bridge suddenly went dark. Emergency lighting kicked in a second later, casting red shadows across the alien faces. Then just as suddenly everything came back online. Status report. Thexvar shouted. All systems normal, reported the engineering officer. But sir, that wasn't a malfunction. Someone shut us down remotely and then restored our systems. The humans? Has to be. And Admiral, they did this to every ship in the fleet at exactly the same time. Thexvar felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. Not fear of death, that was simple and clean. This was fear of the unknown, of facing an enemy that played by rules he didn't understand. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Jin Kyung was having a very different conversation with his crew. Dr. Tae Jun, Jin called to the ship's xenobiologist. What can you tell us about Vorthan psychology? Dr. Tae Jun looked up from his console, where he'd been analyzing everything they'd learned about the aliens. Fascinating species, Captain. They're natural hierarchists. Everything in their society is based on strength and dominance. They literally cannot understand why we haven't either attacked them or surrendered to them. And that's our advantage, added Dr. Jia Min, the ship's cultural anthropologist. They're trying to fit us into categories that don't exist in their experience. To them, there are only predators and prey. They don't know what to do with a species that could be a predator but chooses not to be. Jin nodded thoughtfully. Somi, how long would it take you to completely disable their fleet? The young cyber warfare specialist didn't look up from her work. About 15 minutes, Captain. Maybe 10 if I don't worry about being gentle. Their security is strong, but it's designed to keep other Vorthans out, not humans. We think differently than they do. What do you mean? Somi finally looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. Captain, imagine you're building a fortress. You make the walls thick, the gates strong, the guards alert. But what if your enemy doesn't attack the walls? What if they convince the fortress that they're supposed to be there? Social engineering, Yuna said with understanding. You're not breaking into their systems. You're making their systems think you belong there. Exactly. Fourth-hand computer security is all about preventing unauthorized access. But their computers can't tell the difference between a Vorthan giving orders and a human giving orders in perfect Vorthan computer language. Jin was impressed, but not surprised. Humanity had learned cyber warfare during centuries of conflict with each other. By the time they reached the stars, human hackers could break into systems that their creators thought were unbreakable. Captain, Han Gil announced. Incoming transmission from Admiral Thexvar. He sounds different. Put him through. The alien admiral appeared on screen again, but this time his aggressive posture was gone. His forearms were held in what human experts had identified as a Vorthan gesture of uncertainty. Captain Jin, Thexvar began, I need to understand what just happened. You lost power for a few seconds, Jin replied calmly. Then you got it back. That's not what I mean, and you know it. How did you penetrate the defenses of 68 ships simultaneously? How did you shut down an entire fleet without causing any damage? Jin exchanged glances with his crew. Admiral, may I ask you a question first? In all your conquests, how do you usually deal with enemy fleets? We destroy them. All of them? Every ship? Of course. Any ship that refuses to surrender is eliminated. I see. Jin walked closer to the screen. Admiral, humans learned warfare very differently. We fought each other for thousands of years before we reached space. We learned that sometimes you need to win a war without destroying everything you're fighting for. I don't understand. Think about it this way. If you destroy an enemy fleet, you win the battle but lose all the ships, all the technology, all the knowledge those ships contained. But if you can capture a fleet intact, understanding dawned in Thexvar's red eyes. You keep everything, exactly. And more importantly, you keep the crews alive. Dead enemies can't become allies. Dead crews can't teach you about their technology or their culture. Dr. Tae-jun leaned forward in his chair. Captain, if I may, Admiral Thexvar, your empire has conquered 800 species over 2,000 years, but what have you learned from them? Learned? We absorb their resources, their territories. But what about their knowledge? Their unique ways of thinking? Their innovations? Thexvar was quiet for a long moment. We took what was useful and discarded the rest. That's where humans do things differently, Jin explained. When we meet someone new, we don't ask, how can we conquer them? We ask, what can we learn from them? But surely you must have enemies, Thexvar protested. Every species has enemies. Oh, we do, Jin admitted. But our greatest enemies are usually other humans. We've spent so much time fighting each other that we became very good at it. When we finally started working together instead of fighting, we became something much more dangerous. Dangerous how? Yuna spoke up from her station. Admiral, a human fleet isn't just a collection of ships. It's a network. Every ship shares information with every other ship instantly. Every captain can call on the knowledge and experience of every other captain. When you fight one human ship, you're really fighting all of them. And, so Mi added with a grin, when you connect to one human ship's computer network, you're connecting to all of them. Your fleet's computer systems are now part of our network too. We're not hacking your ships anymore, Admiral. We're just using the access you gave us. Thexvar's eyes went wide with shock. You mean, right now every ship in your fleet is part of a vast network that includes every human ship in this system? Jin confirmed. Your computers are talking to our computers, sharing data, learning from each other. But why haven't you used this to destroy us? Jin smiled. Because, Admiral, we didn't come here to destroy anyone. We came here to explore, to learn, and maybe to make some friends. The question is, what do you want to do now? 2 days later, Admiral Thexvar found himself aboard the human ship Indomitable, walking through corridors that looked nothing like what he had expected. Instead of military gray walls and weapon displays, he saw artwork from dozens of different human cultures, scientific laboratories, and gardens where food plants grew under artificial sunlight. This is not a warship, he said to Captain Jin Kyung, who was walking beside him. It is and it isn't, Jin replied. The Indomitable can fight when it needs to, but that's not why we built it. We built it to explore, to learn, to carry human culture to the stars. They passed a group of human children being taught mathematics by a woman with kind eyes. Thexvar stopped walking. Children? You brought children into battle? Admiral, Jin said gently, we didn't come here to fight. We came here to explore. Our ships carry entire communities. Scientists, teachers, artists, families. When humans go to the stars, we bring all of humanity with us, not just our weapons. They continued walking until they reached a large room filled with display screens and people working at various stations. At the center sat a woman who stood when they entered. Admiral Thexvar, Jin said, I'd like you to meet Ambassador Gil-Su. She'll be handling the formal negotiations between our species. Gil-Su stepped forward and bowed slightly, a gesture the humans had learned showed respect in many alien cultures. Admiral, thank you for agreeing to talk instead of fight. I'm not sure I had much choice, Thexvar admitted. Your people seem to have advantages I don't understand. Perhaps we can help you understand, said another voice. A man approached them carrying a data tablet. I'm Dr. Jia Min, specialist in cultural communication. I've been studying your empire for some time. Studying us? How? Dr. Jia Min gestured to the screens around them. Admiral, your empire spans 200 star systems. You have trade routes, communication networks, public information systems. For months, we've been listening to your radio transmissions, reading your public databases, learning your languages. Thexvar felt his mandibles click with nervousness. You've been spying on us. Learning about you, Gil-Su corrected. The same way you would study any new territory before entering it. We wanted to understand your culture, your values, your way of thinking. And what did you learn? Dr. Jia Min activated his tablet, and a holographic display appeared showing a map of Vorthan space. We learned that your empire is impressive but fragile. You control your territories through fear and superior firepower. But what happens when you meet someone who isn't afraid and has firepower to match yours? We fight, Thexvar said automatically. Yes, and that's the problem. Admiral, your empire has grown powerful by conquering every species you encounter, but conquest creates enemies and enemies eventually find ways to fight back. Ambassador Gil-Su stepped closer to the holographic display. Admiral, we've identified 17 different species within your empire that are planning rebellions. 3 of your most important industrial worlds are facing worker strikes that could cripple your military production. and your outer colonies are reporting strange sensor readings that suggest someone else is watching your empire from the shadows. Thexvar stared at the display in shock. How could you know all this? Because we've been watching and listening, Dr. Jamin explained. Your empire is strong, but it's not united. You rule through force, but force alone cannot create loyalty. Then what do you suggest? Captain Jin spoke up. We suggest you try something different. Instead of conquering the next species you meet, try making them partners. Partners? The strong do not need partners. Admiral, said a new voice from behind them. They turned to see Wu Jin, a tall man with scars on his face and arms. My name is Wu Jin. I used to be an intelligence officer in the Vorthon Imperial Navy. Thexvar's forearms tensed. Impossible. You're human. I'm Vorthon, Wu Jin corrected. But I've been working with the humans for 6 months now. They found me when my ship was attacked by pirates in neutral space. Instead of leaving me to die, they rescued me. Instead of interrogating me as an enemy, they offered me a choice. What choice? Help them understand the Vorthon Empire, or be returned to Vorthon space as a rescued pilot. No threats, no torture, no demands for military secrets. Just a simple choice. Thexvar studied the scarred Vorthon with suspicion. And you chose to betray your own empire. I chose to help prevent a war that would destroy both our species, Wu Jin replied. Admiral, I've seen what humans are capable of. They have 127 ships in this system, all invisible to your sensors. Each ship carries weapons that could destroy your largest dreadnoughts. But more than that, they have something your empire has never encountered. What? They fight wars to end wars, not to start them. They're offering you a choice your empire has never given anyone else. The chance to change without being destroyed. Ambassador Gil-Su gestured to a large screen on the wall. Admiral, let us show you what we're really proposing. The screen lit up with images of human and Vorthon ships working together, of mixed crews exploring unknown star systems, of trade stations where both species lived and worked side by side. We're not asking you to surrender, Gil-Su explained. We're asking you to evolve. Your empire is strong, but it could be stronger. Human technology combined with Vorthon resources could create something neither of our species could achieve alone. But why? Thexvar demanded. Why would you want to help us? Why not just conquer our empire and take what you want? Captain Jin smiled. Because, Admiral, conquest is easy. Building something better is hard, and humans like difficult challenges. Dr. Jamin stepped forward again. Admiral, we've detected signals from the edge of the galaxy. Something is moving in the space between star systems, something that makes both our fleets look small and weak. When that something arrives, we'll all need to work together if we want to survive. You're talking about an external threat? Yes. And it's coming whether we're ready or not. Thexvar looked around the room at the humans and the one Vorthon who had chosen to work with them. Everything he had been taught about strength and conquest was being challenged by these strange beings who could have destroyed his fleet but chose to offer partnership instead. What exactly are you proposing? Ambassador Gil-Su smiled. A joint exploration mission to investigate these signals. Vorthon ships and human ships working together, sharing technology, sharing knowledge, learning from each other. If we're going to face an unknown threat, we should face it as allies, not enemies. And if the Vorthon High Command refuses? Then they refuse, Captain Jin said simply. We won't force you to be our allies, Admiral. But we also won't let you force us to be your subjects. The choice is yours. Thexvar was quiet for a long time, thinking about everything he had seen and heard. Finally, he looked up at the humans around him. How do we begin? 3 months after first contact, the joint human Vorthon space station New Horizon orbited the 4th planet in the Kepler 442 system. Admiral Thexvar stood in the observation deck, watching human and Vorthon engineers work together to install new sensor equipment on a modified exploration vessel. The transformation had been remarkable. What started as a tense standoff between enemies had become something unprecedented in galactic history. A true partnership between species that had been ready to destroy each other. Amazing, isn't it? Said a familiar voice behind him. Thexvar turned to see Jin Kyung approaching. The human captain had been promoted to admiral of the first contact fleet, and now wore the insignia of both species on his uniform. I never imagined anything like this was possible, Thexvar admitted. Your people continue to surprise me. Your people have surprised us too, Jin replied, joining the Vorthon at the observation window. When the Vorthan High Command agreed to this partnership, we weren't sure how well our crews would work together. Below them, a mixed team of humans and Vorthons were solving an engineering problem that neither species could have handled alone. The humans provided innovative thinking and adaptive technology, while the Vorthons contributed raw industrial power and knowledge gained from 2,000 years of spacefaring experience. Admiral Jin, Thexvar said, using the human's new title, I must ask you something that has been troubling me. Of course, your species could have destroyed my empire. You had the power, the technology, the strategic advantage, yet you chose to make us partners instead. In all our history, we have never encountered behavior like this. Why? Jin was quiet for a moment, watching a human child and a young Vorthon working together on a science project in the station's educational center. Admiral, Jin said finally, humanity learned something important during our long history of warfare. Destroying your enemies feels like victory, but it's actually defeat. When you destroy something, you lose all the knowledge, all the potential, all the possibilities that thing might have contained. But surely some enemies must be destroyed. Some? Yes, but most enemies become enemies because they're afraid, or angry, or because they don't understand alternatives. The Vorthan Empire wasn't evil, Thexvar. It was just doing what it thought it had to do to survive. Thexvar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. And now? Now we're both stronger than we were before. Human creativity combined with Vorthan industrial capacity. Vorthan military experience combined with human technological innovation. Together we can accomplish things neither of us could achieve alone. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Chief Navigator Nabin, a young human woman who had become expert at working with Vorthon astrogation systems. Admirals, she said, bowing respectfully to both of them. The joint exploration fleet is ready for departure. All ships are reporting full readiness. Jin nodded. Thank you, Nabin. Are the long-range sensors fully calibrated? Yes, sir. We've combined human stealth technology with Vorthon deep space sensors. The new array can detect objects at ranges we never thought possible. Thexvar looked out at the fleet preparing to depart. 12 ships, 6 human, 6 Vorthon, modified with the best technology both species could provide. It was the most advanced exploration force ever assembled. Admiral Thexvar, Jin said, there's something I need to tell you before we leave. What is it? The signals we've been detecting from the galactic edge. They're getting stronger. And they're not natural. Thexvar felt his forearms tense. You believe they're artificial? Made by some intelligence? Yes, and whatever is making them, it's big. Our best estimates suggest ships the size of moons, possibly larger. Larger than moons, possibly larger than planets. They stood in silence for a moment, contemplating the implications. Both the Human Federation and the Vorthon Empire were impressive by the standards of their local region of space. But if something was moving between galaxies with ships the size of worlds, perhaps, Thexvar said slowly, it's good that we're allies now. I think so too. Captain Suho's voice came over the station's communication system. All ships, this is the Unity. Final system checks are complete. We are ready to depart on schedule. Jin activated his communicator. Acknowledged, Captain Suho. All ships, this is Admiral Jin. Today we begin something new in galactic history. For the first time, two species are venturing into the unknown, not as conquerors, but as partners. Whatever we find out there, we'll face it together. Thexvar activated his own communicator. This is Admiral Thexvar. To all crews, human and Vorthan alike, we go not to claim new territory, but to understand new possibilities. Let this mission be the beginning of a new age. As the joint fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Engineer Min-Ra reported from her station on the command ship. All vessels showing green lights. Jump calculations confirmed. We are ready for departure. The Unity, a new class of ship designed by both species working together, led the formation. It was neither fully human nor fully Vorthan, but something entirely new. A vessel that represented the best of both civilizations. In the ship's command center, Captain Suho worked alongside Vorthan navigator Kexdal and human science officer Hai Rim. The mixed crew had trained for months to work as a single unit, and now they moved with the precision of a team that had been working together for years. Jump. In 30 seconds, announced navigator Kexdal. All systems nominal, reported science officer Hai Rim. Final confirmation from all ships received, added. Communications Officer Park Jun. Captain Su. Ho took a deep breath. This is it, everyone. We're about to make history. As the fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the mysterious signals at the edge of the galaxy, Admiral Jin reflected on how much had changed in just 3 months. The human race was no longer alone in the universe, and the Vorthan Empire was no longer defined only by conquest. Whatever they found in the darkness between stars, they would face it together. And perhaps, if they were very lucky and very smart, they would find that the galaxy was stranger and more wonderful than either species had ever imagined. The ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of 2 civilizations that had chosen cooperation over conflict, understanding over dominance behind them. The joint space station continued its work, a symbol of what was possible when enemies chose to become friends. And in the deep space beyond the galactic edge, something vast and ancient detected their approach and began to take notice of the small ships carrying representatives of 2 young species, who had learned, perhaps just in time, that they were stronger together than apart. The galaxy was about to discover that humanity and their new Vorthan allies were not the kind of civilizations that would quietly submit to anyone or anything, no matter how large or powerful. They would stand together, and the Empire would never again pause in uncertainty when facing the unknown.